West Ham are taking no prisoners this transfer window. It was only a few days ago they completed the triple swoop of Fullkrug, Guido Rodriguez and Cryensio Summerville, but they have just went and taken it to the next level. It looks like Jean-Clair Todibo is going to be the latest incoming transfer to West Ham, which, you know, after that triple swoop they made a few days ago, the whole complexion of the squad, the best 11, the depth they've got was completely changed. And now bringing Todibo into this squad now really does lift it sincerely into the top 7, top 6 squads that is in the Premier League at the moment for depth and quality everywhere, because West Ham are on this relentless quest to bring in as many Champions League level players into their squad as they possibly can, and Todibo for me is a huge statement of intent. We thought this guy was on his way to Juventus, but no, he is on his way to West Ham, and in the video today we'll be breaking down and analysing the impact that Todibo is going to have into this West Ham team, particularly the defence. In the last video we done, we got some great contributions in the comment section from the Hammers fans, so we'll be shaking out a few different things, how West Ham could shape up, what I think, what you guys think, what's most likely, and everything else in between, especially with the Todibo incoming transfer. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we cover all the headline transfers throughout the summer as we get set for what could be the biggest season of European football ever. And get into the comment section in this one and let me know, what do you think about Jean-Clair Todibo? Is he going to lift West Ham into the conversations firmly of being a contender for the European spots this season in the Premier League? Is he going to hit the ground running? Is he all that? The West Ham still have more business to get done. I'll be interested to catch all the contributions in the comment section on this one. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, I think the best place to start with this video is the man himself, Jean-Clair Todibo, because he's a name that maybe you've heard of. He's been around European football for, it feels like a long time, but he's only 24 years of age and he might not be a familiar face or a familiar name to many West Ham fans out there. But Jean-Clair Todibo has been on the radar of football fans and of scouts and, you know, people that really do get into the deep end with the next generation coming through of wonder kids and all the rest of it. And he's always been a name that's been very firmly associated with William Saliba. Both of these guys kind of broke through at the same time in a big way. And between both of them, they've been seen in France as a long-time succession plan for the national team. Now, obviously, at centre-back, France, I think, have got more depth than anyone else. So Todibo's fledgling international career is maybe not as pronounced at this stage of his career as maybe you would have thought a couple of years ago. But that's not really too much of a slant on him. He's a centre-back that can play anywhere across the back, you know, centre-back positions here, but mainly finds himself in right centre-back. And over last season, averaging out 57 out of 100 is a very credible rating for a defender. Last 15 games is also a wee bit stronger. In the last 5, Nice, I'm not too sure how well they actually finished the season out. But this is a, you know, please do not undersell this guy or write him off in any way, because he is a pretty complete defender. When it comes to 1v1 defending, he is a bit of a man mountain, but as you can see with his ratings out of 100 here, he can get right in amongst it with massive one-man defensive performances, which, you know, really stood him out against everyone else, really, in Ligue 1. He did make a move to Barcelona, which, you know, I don't think that was terribly successful overall. I think Barcelona at the time and Benfica, yeah, it didn't really work out for him there at Barca or Benfica through different reasons, but he's found himself a spot at Nice since kind of breaking through and making these transfers and loan moves that didn't really pan out. Back to where it all began for him, I suppose. And in Nice's more dominant games, he's not just that one-man defender, you know, making the blocks, making the clearances, the tackles, interceptions and all that good stuff, but he does have a good range of passing to him as well. He is a player that can get the ball into the final third, can play a long switch of play, and can try and find attackers in different positions. Not too many of his balls get into the actual penalty area himself because he has a centre-back. He's not a guy that's overly charging up the pitch in that respect, you know, and actually getting it into the box. And for a guy that's got a red card and whatever, you know, he's not a guy that actually gets booked too often. We've got an assist here against Strasbourg in a game where he rated it 100 out of 100, a perfect score in this one. And again, a huge pass count, a good amount of long passes, and a fair amount of them are getting into the final third. So although he's not like the playmaking centre-back, he's still like a very good ball-carrying transition defender that can help you get it to maybe the player that you want to walk it into midfield or play it to the fullbacks who are going to take it a run up the pitch, which Nice, you know, they have really energetic fullbacks. And when you combine that range of passing with how good he is as a 1v1 defender, his pace, his strength, his aerial ability, it really does have the makings of being a genuine Rolls-Royce defender. And that's something that you can't really say about this West Ham defence. Although it's like robust. Kurt Zuma's just left for Abu Dhabi or something like that, yeah, UAE. There's not anyone in here. Like, Aguerd I'm a fan of. Mavropanos, I think some people like. I'm not too sure the whole kind of opinion of him. And Kilman's a funny one, right? Because he isn't like a good player, but I don't think you look at Max Kilman and you go, oh yeah, he's definitely a £40 million centre-back or whatever. And if we drop Jean-Clair Todibo into this team, you really do get that feeling of they've got like a top quality defender that can really be in charge of the defence, really lead the line. And, you know, if it does go to a 4 in the back, because a lot of the comments we got in the last video, you guys are all pretty certain that this is going to be a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1. You don't see this being a 5 at the back setup at all. And I do think with Todibo coming in, maybe that becomes a bit more likely because he is like 2 guys worth of defender in a roundabout way with how good he is. And, you know, a lot of you guys fancied Bowen to be in the best 11 still, which is fine. There was one comment here where it was talking about it being the kind of 4-2-2 kind of shape. I'm not too sure you're going to get that under Lopetegui. I feel it's more of a Moyes or somebody else. And with Todibo now in defence and with Guido in the engine room now in the double pivot with Alvarez, I do make a lot of your predictions, a lot of your forecasts to be pretty spot on. Maybe not quite this. I do think Kudus and Paqueta, top props, by the way, but for the comment construction here. But I don't think Kudus and Paqueta centre mid is what's going to be happening. But maybe more this kind of thing here. And this team we've got here. Bowen, Kudus, Summerville. And yeah, Paqueta, maybe he could play a bit deeper, I suppose, if you know you're going to dominate possession against somebody. But let's just say this is the team, right? And again, you guys can talk to me in the comment sections and let me know when I'm getting it wrong or whatever. But I think for someone like Lopetegui, who does love a back 5, does love a back 3, that if you've got like Todibo and Kilman, he's handpicked. Kilman is a guy that can walk the ball in the midfield, that is good on the ball and can play fullbacks just as well as Todibo. And this is like a centre-back pairing that we can see splitting from the goalkeeper very, very comfortably and looking to play out quite quickly. So I do see this becoming a back 4 that could be the situation. We do expect maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka still to come in, but that news hasn't progressed, so I'm not going to talk about that today. But then in front of that, if you've got Alvarez and Guido, like, this is kind of like 4 centre-backs, you know, for someone like Lopetegui. So I don't think he'll mind making this move. And the likes of Alvarez and Guido, of course, they're midfielders, so they are going to just get higher up the pitch. Then even if you had 3 centre-backs, you would expect to see any of the more adventurous ones venture in. Into midfield, you're just not going to see that as much. So I do make this the most likely kind of shape that we now see. Paqueta can be registered, like we mentioned in the last video. So I think Paqueta is going to be a main player for West Ham. Is going to make a big difference. There's no way you don't have Kudus in the team. But one of the things that did hold me back on the 4-3-3, and I did feature it in the last video as well, so feel free to listen to the video again if you missed it or if you kind of skimmed through it or whatever. But Fullkrug like can be an arrowhead and can be a very good one, I'm sure. You know, he's done it well enough for Dortmund, and we've seen, like, for Germany, I'm not sure if you would call him arrowhead as much as just in the box, just a poacher. Slightly different shape with Germany than it is with Dortmund. But at Bremen, he was a part of a 2 that were very active, and, you know, maybe it'll be Bowen, you know, and then maybe this sort of thing does happen where Kudus and Paqueta are just forward playmakers, and then you've got this kind of defensive shape here, like a 2-4-4 kind of, or a 2-4-2-2, however you want to think of it as, like in possession and pushing the opposition up the pitch. So, and again, like Kudus, you want to give him a bit of freedom. You want to give Paqueta a bit of freedom. And I think if you've got Bowen joining Fullkrug up here in attack, and you've got Alvarez and Guido in the engine room, like, these guys all of a sudden get lots of space, they get lots of license and cover and flexibility to play the game that's in front of them, take the spaces that are available. And really, that's the best way to play football when you're at the top end of the Premier League and you're looking to really problem solve against a lot of really high-end coaches and players. And, you know, really know it's so hard, which is why depth is so important in the Premier League. It is so hard to forecast out your full season and say, right, well, we'll play this guy every week and we'll do this and we'll do that, we'll rotate for cups, because like all sorts of stuff can happen. As you've seen with Tonali at Newcastle last year, as we're maybe feeling might happen with Paqueta, or maybe not, we'll see how it all does shake out. Like, really and sincerely, anything can happen, and just when you think you've got everything sorted, something can come away from you. But if you can have these types of players fit and then play the game that's in front of you, maybe somebody like Bowen doesn't start, you maybe have like Kudus in that situation, and maybe then you use a bit more pace with a Summerville, who's also a big money signing. This Guilherme is featured in pre-season also, so maybe it could be somebody like him. Over time, you never know. And Antonio always does seem to find his way into the starting 11 somehow, doesn't he? So I wouldn't completely write him off either at this point. But I do think Todibo now makes a lot of the other transfers that would maybe not make more sense, but now, like, for a lot of you guys are saying to me in the comment section, I can definitely see this happening a lot more. I can still see the back 3 happen, don't get me wrong, with Aguerd or Mavropanos or whatever. but then probably Mavropanos been in as a centre. But there's not much depth in and behind it, and I really don't think after buying Kilman and Todibo, they could go out and get another defender in this window. And I do think they will want that quality of depth to a man to be there. And if that did happen, I would think it would be one of the forward players like Bowen or something that would make way, and we would see this 5-3-2 kind of shape. Give Emerson and Wan-Bissaka or Koufal or whatever, maybe Summerville's converted to like a Frimpong kind of situation, if you know what I mean, where he is a fullback, but he never really is in fullback. It's just a good way of not being marked. Something like that could happen, who knows. But I think the Todibo one is absolutely massive because 1v1 defending, when you're pressing this high up the pitch, Alvarez can recover and is a very good shield, as is Guido. And Kilman is like decent as well, don't get me wrong, but Todibo is a guy that, like, if you're leaving him 1v1 versus some of the best strikers in the league, like, you can really have a bit of faith that he's going to have a positive duel success rate. You know, if he's involved in 11 duels, he's going to win 6 of them, something like that. And when you get into the top end of the Premier League, these fine margins, that's the sort of defender you need here. Aguerd, Mavropanos, maybe they've not been as convincing in those roles. And Todibo, like, still has to prove it, still has to go out there. But I think, like I mentioned earlier in the video, this guy's been so closely like tied career-wise in terms of reputation, style, and potential like perfect partner is to Saliba. And, you know, we all see how good Saliba's been in the Premier League, and I really don't think that you can expect Todibo to be much different. You know, I think you could have a little mini Saliba here on your hands. And depending on what does happen with the fullbacks, I think that's really the last question to be answered. And once we know how the fullbacks will play, the rest of this team then probably does shape out quite comfortably to be like a 4-3-3, maybe a 4-2-2, something like that, depending on the style of play. I just find some of this to be a little bit alien to what we've seen from Lopetegui at Sevilla and at Wolves recently. So, but he is Spanish, and the Spanish mantra is 4-3-3, tiki-taka, build-up play, wingers that can make things happen, score goals, as well as a striker that is a goal machine, as a guy that will put his body in where it hurts. So there's maybe a little bit of typical Spanish, a little bit of salsa coming into the West Ham team here, but maybe it still could be typical Lopetegui. It's still what I'm a wee bit worried about for you guys out there. But I think wholeheartedly, Todibo alongside the other guys, like West Ham, look at this squad. Seriously, like, this is in the conversation for top 6, top 5, I think. No European football this year. And it doesn't sound like they're losing anyone, which is a huge, big, thick, double bold silver lining for West Ham as well. So definitely West Ham fans get excited now. I don't know if there's too much more business to be done here. Maybe the fullback thing, if there is an Aaron Wan-Bissaka to come in still, but maybe there's one on the left. And then, like, Lopetegui's really rebuilt and remodeled this whole squad in a window, which is quite remarkable, to be honest with you, considering all the PSR and financial fair play gymnastics that we see going around. And off the top of my head, I don't think West Ham have really been involved in any of those shenanigans, so tip of the cap to you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Really looking forward to catching the comment section on this week's West Ham video. Let's see if we get another one out in the next couple of weeks or so, with more transfers that will be happening, more moves and shakes. And yeah, on screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.